Welcome, wingers and wingettes, to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about support in a Black household. And I got two of my good friends. Over here to the right, we got Jatiya here. And to the bottom, we got Candy in the building. She go by Saucey Candy, what have you. But we're going to be talking about support in a Black household, a conversation that many do not have, many don't want to speak on, or many feel embarrassed to just go out and just say what's really going on. How does that look for you actually growing up? Yeah.
Jatiya, I'll let you go first.
It's one of
I'll
those.
start it off. So, support in a Black household for my family is, they did the best they could, but they're showing support how they want to show it, not how I would like to receive it.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that was my like childhood. I really didn't feel. I felt support sometimes, but
What did you feel you needed
most of the time
support
it's just like
support in? Like,
were okay if you make A's and B's on your report card,
Yeah.
you get this allowance, da da da. And I was AB honor roll up until the time I was 8th grade. 8th grade was really my breaking point. Because it was all like I felt like I had no say. So I'm listening to you say like your parents didn't want to give you a car or anything. I had my mom had my Nissan sitting in the driveway, and I could have easily gotten my permit and everything, and that would have been my car. However, I knew it was going to come with conditions, so I didn't want it. Um,
What do you mean by
I,
conditions?
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna
I mean,
ask.
I know what you mean by conditions, but Jataya, do you mind like touching more?
I felt like my mother is a helicopter parent. So she's like very, and on top of that, like very organized and everything. So she likes things to be in her control. It's
Right.
Okay.
like it's her way or there's no way at all.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally did ask me one time, like, how come like you didn't get your try to do like your permit with your friends or anything? At that time, that was like the major reason, but also like I didn't mind riding the bus. And like at the
Because
time my best friend was down the street, already had her permit, so I would just take rides with her. But again, I couldn't always do that because of the whole by that point in high school, that was like 2013.
making us sound old.
And, that was the whole big no texting, no driving.
Yeah.
Kids are dying in
Yeah.
car crashes and stuff like that. So I always couldn't ride with her just because of that reason. So I will say, like, my parents did do a great job in giving me like life savings and, making sure I really didn't want for anything materialized. But when it comes to the emotional aspect, I felt like they were very lacking.
Yeah, we
So
need that. We need that. Like, just like how you said, like, I never had wanted for anything really growing up. Like, my parents made sure I've traveled so many places, different, cruises and birthdays. And even when I turned, I think 16, my friend and I, we got our debit card at the same time. And when we got the debit card, it was like, oh my God, we got our debit card. But my mom also had savings bonds that people gave me in 1993 that she kept. And when you go to a bank, it was worth at least about, you get your 16, you get your debit card, it's worth about $300, $500, whatever at that time. So it was like, everything given to me when it came to the discipline part, it was like sometimes, because I'm the one with the ADD, it's like we also have to and I'm not down anybody like listening. I'm really not downplaying my parents at all. But I am learning that in today's life, when you actually have a choice in my world, because I'm only with a female, we have a choice if we can have a kid or not. You can look into who you are having these babies with. If it was me dating my father, I could tell he has the ADD. So I'm going to get ready to expect that my child
Mhm.
may have ADD as well. So let me look up what things can happen, because when you're disciplining a
Mhm.
child with ADD who sometimes has control or may not have control on certain actions or where they know how to pull certain strings, your
Mhm.
disciplining to them can make them think, well, one, I didn't ask to be here. Two, I didn't ask to be here, but I'm here. I'm going to make the best out of it. But I can't help certain actions. So me beating me up as if this is a punching bag, or because it's out of frustration
Mhm.
because you don't know what to do with this child, makes the child feel
Mhm.
a certain way. I left my parents' house. To me, it was like crazy, it was foolish or whatever. I left my parents' house at 18 years old because I thought I wanted to just go run and be this my own person, not have to do the chores when somebody else says to do it, or I wanted to be around a
Yeah.
different scenario, not getting talked at or yelled at, because when they're frustrated, the discipline as you get older is more yelling at you or looked at as a
Yes.
possible failure now, because if you put your hands on me,
Right.
now we can size up. I'm not gonna hit my parents, but the mentality is I'm not
Mhm.
gonna just slap you upside your head like that or whatever. So it's just like I wanted to have my own voice and leave. Right now, I would have been like, dang, I wish I would have stayed. I would have had. But look, where I'm at right
Yeah.
now is to be my own person. But the discipline is definitely different. And one thing I take from it is you have a story, Jatiya, Candy, you have a story. I have a story, but it
Yeah.
all will make us much better parents to
Yes.
our offsprings, or if we're godparents, or if we have our own kids. And then we have to remember one thing for sure, like, okay, why is my kid acting this way? Because there's a reason why you're acting out. And my godmother said to me, well, this is obvious why you're acting out. So why? Because your mother goes to a 9 to 5, comes home, she's with you throughout the whole night. Your father has different hours. You come home from school, he's sleeping about to go out to work. So you barely see him. So you're probably acting out because yes, you have both parents, but one is here but not really here.
Right.
And when you only see that one that's barely there, is a discipline. Because and then I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, you know? But then I'm
Right.
like, it's true, because when I got disciplined by my mother, she came home from work, we hugged, we snuggled, but she reminded me what I did at school. And yes, I got the belt, which was, okay at that time. I got the belt, I got the spanking. I felt it was normal. It was just normal.
Mhm.
Then my
Yeah.
father comes home, the one that you see, you get in the discipline again, but it's so freaking rough. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
maybe it's true. Like hers, I said, don't worry, ma. I already know you gotta give me a spanking. I already know you gotta put me on punishment. I know. And we laughed one time.
Yeah.
But with him, it was just different. And that's probably why I grew up always saying, yeah, my mom, like, you don't got a dad. I'm like, oh no, I do. I'm like, but it was growing up, I was like, dang, he's about to give me the worst beating. Like, I don't give a shit type of beating. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's just like
Yes.
the discipline. I just wish it was different on how it is now. Even if I don't understand my child, get to know your child, get to understand your child.
Yes.
They're learning more of me through this podcast. Honestly, a lot of them like, oh
Mhm.
wow, I actually like what you said, or yeah, it's things that we all wish we could have said years ago, but we're saying it now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I wanna touch on that because I am a mother.
Yes.
So it is very oh, goodness.
She got that millennial
It is
pause.
so funny to be in this stage because, you know, my son is at the toddler stage right now, so the healing I'm doing, there's certain things I'm trying to, like, heal within myself so I don't pass on that generational trauma to him. Um, and going back to you saying about ADHD, I have ADHD. Um, I expect my child to have ADHD.
Hmm.
And he is showing signs of it. Now, my parents knew I had ADHD. Um, but the time they found out there wasn't really a lot of information on it. Um,
Right.
Right.
my mom
Yeah.
definitely didn't want to put me on any type of medication because she was concerned how that would affect, you know, my body physically and mentally. So I didn't go on any medication for my ADHD.
Oh, you didn't have that.
However, over the years through my childhood, I forgot I had ADHD. And so there would be like certain scenarios where I would get in trouble for like disrupting like the classroom and stuff like that. Um, or just like
Mhm.
being a kid doing stuff, that would annoy a parent
Mhm.
because and I would it's like I have ADHD. So like and
It's a
I will say
struggle.
this, my mom does look up things. She does try to like
Right.
educate her like this woman loves learning new things. So I know there's no way at some point she didn't like do a deep dive in ADHD. And I
Mhm.
get there may have not been a lot of information out there for it, but calling me lazy most of my life, um,
Oh my God,
and
same.
saying saying like, I'm because I am a procrastinator, but for people who don't know, if you have ADHD, procrastination is one of the ADHD causes you to procrastinate because
Mhm.
of the way your brain is always overthinking, it's always getting distracted. So you're not purposely trying not to do the task you're trying to focus on. It's just how your brain is wired.
Right.
So going through on top of like her being a helicopter parent, and I still feel this way, her wanting me to do things the way she would do them,
Mhm.
I would get called lazy and procrastinator and all this stuff, and it's like all that just weighs down on me because it's like I'm not purposely trying to procrastinate. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to like do the best I can in school. And like I said, I was A's and B's all up to 8th grade
Mhm.
until I had my breaking point because
Yeah.
of peer all that pressure to be like her, all that pressure to be
Can you tell us
perfect.
what for the people that don't know that's listening, can you
Mhm.
tell them what a helicopter parent is?
So, a helicopter parent, in my definition, because I really don't know Google's definition, um, helicopter parent for me is basically is basically like micromanaging. It's
Mhm.
like you're you're a worker and your manager is standing over your shoulder 24 hours of the day, even though they hired you to do the
Yeah,
job they want you to,
yeah.
they still standing over you to make sure you're doing it the way they want you to do it,
Yeah.
basically. So
Okay.
that's basically what like a helicopter parent is. Micromanaging not just
Mhm.
your actions, but also emotions.
Yeah.
So
didn't even
it's
realize I didn't even realize, like, even when you said, being called lazy, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I did grow up with getting she's lazy," and I'm like, I didn't
Mhm.
understand what part was lazy because I'm always hyper doing things. I just felt like I grew up in New York City, and I'm not even saying, "Oh, use this as an excuse," and people say, "Oh, you're ADD." I never wanted to use that as an excuse. Like, if somebody asks,
Yeah.
"Oh, what," I don't see to use it as an excuse. I had so many friends, I had so many people that wanted to be around me. I was always included in a whole lot of things, even if
Mhm.
even if I'm still included in so much that I never saw what was a lazy thing until I honestly left living in my parents' home and I went upstate to live with my cousins, and the lazy was out of that. Was literally, I used to get my overall average used to be sadly 64 or a 70, and if it's a good
Mhm.
year, a 75. in ninth to
Mhm.
10th grade, and I'm like, yeah, this is 'cause I'm failing. I would be failing every single class. But I had a great time in school. I had friends. I was
Mhm.
that person. Once I
Yeah.
go upstate, I was like, oh, lazy is out the door. I was 1 point away from literally honor roll. Honor roll is 85 or above. I was 84 for
Mhm.
average. I actually passed math, and I realized that my passion growing up was just impressing myself. But if someone else is looking for me to do a task, I made sure I excelled, because I'm like, I'm not gonna look crazy somewhere else. I'm looking crazy in New
Yeah.
York City. I'm not gonna fail here and then fail there. And I felt like I had two two of my older cousins. I call them my aunt and uncle, but I had two of my older cousins
Mhm.
that were always at home. Someone was always there to help with homework, to help with everything. And it was passion within learning, and it was passion within taking what I was supposed to know. And then when
Mhm.
my older cousin comes home from work, he was the math person to go to and make sure, all right, the grades are good, because this is why your parents sent you here as well. And then if you need help in math, we'll take the time. It was the both of them leaning in with an extra shield of love and
Mhm.
an intake. And maybe because he also worked with people who needed extra assistance at his job, and maybe because my cousin is a stay-at-home mom who shows the extra passion. So it was more of, oh, I don't want to disappoint you guys. But then at
Yeah.
home, it's more of, my mom comes home from work. All right, I give you this amount of time. What do you got? You got homework? No. All right, you got homework. What do you have? Like, this is what I got, or this is what I'm spending my money for. And it's like, it was a lot going on. And even I was definitely on medication, but then I didn't want to take it anymore. And as you have
Mhm.
ADD as a child and you get older, you learn how to grasp with certain things, or how to move around, and how to just know what you're supposed to do, know what,
Yeah.
bothers you. But being called lazy, I was like, why am I being called lazy? The hell?
Yeah.
Cass and JT, I know you guys are like mainly you guys are only childs, right?
Yeah, it's just me.
I have 2
Okay.
older sisters, but, I was raised as an only child because they're so much older than me, so
Okay. It's just because I asked because I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So it's like I I have now as an adult, and that the resources are there, and especially shows like the common signs. I feel like in each of my siblings, like not each of them, like every other 6, but
Mhm.
and a few of us, I feel like there is some type of autism or ADD, ADHD within them.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, I will give her kudos on this. She was definitely very good at capturing or looking out for the signs because she was a special needs teacher assistant or teacher. I can't remember which one because it's been so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
she was definitely like that type of parent where if she did see a sign, one of those signs in you, she would take the time to figure out what she can do.
Right.
Like she would take the time to go through the resources that were given
Mm-hmm.
just to find out how I can make it better. But I will say this, like my mom is controlling, but at the same time she's not controlling. Is and honestly it just depends on the flip of the coin sometimes.
Yeah.
So like at times when it came to that, she would definitely make sure that there were resources for us to receive.
Okay.
Um, Me, I'm still not fully diagnosed of what my conditions were. And further down the line, I really would like to find out once everything is set. However, I will give my mom kudos on that. Now, as far as dad, my dad is a little bit more in denial. Like, ain't nothing wrong with that child. But I will say, with some of my cousins growing up on my dad's side, a lot of them were dyslexic. A lot of them
Mm-hmm.
were dyslexic. But my
Mhm.
grandmother on my dad's side, she actually knew how to help with that. So she would have us do crossword puzzles. She would have us do like the little word maps and the coloring books, the
Mhm.
little, whatever in the paper. I think it's all crossword puzzles that were in the papers. Like if we were at her house and it was a couple of my other cousins that she knew for a fact were dyslexic, she would give
Mhm.
all of us something from the paper and say, "All right, go ahead and do it, and come find me when you're done, and you get some dessert or something." And we would just be racing with each other and finding out. But that was her way of
Right.
trying to help. And like looking at it now, I think it's more of comparison. It's like I think we do forget that our parents didn't have the resources that we did now, because
Mhm.
like in the 90s they didn't know what autism was. In the 80s they didn't know what ADHD was. They didn't
Mhm.
know a lot of stuff, and everything was so new. These doctors were trying to figure it out too. It's like, hey, do you want to do a test run or a trial run? And
Yeah.
honestly, once you're in that box, it is so hard to elevate from that box because they
Yeah.
want to
Mhm.
keep you in that box. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's why I just really do try to give my parents some grace.
Mhm.
Certain things I cannot give them grace with. That's
Yeah.
just there. I can't
Yeah.
give you grace with everything. But with you trying to, like Cass was mentioned earlier, hey, your cousin's good at math, ask your cousin for help. Or like if you need help with building your credit, go talk to them. If you need a job at the factory, you go talk to this auntie. I think they did try to build like their own support system, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I think we just forget a lot that there are some things we can be grateful on
Mhm.
and give them grace with, but a
Yeah.
lot of it just depends on how much accountability they want to take in at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Because every
Yes.
generation of parenting is definitely going to be different. Like
Mm.
a lot of the parents right now, they have to go through back then, like you said, it's ADD and ADHD, and now everything is ADHD.
Like
And then
bipolar
yeah,
disorder
now they have to
and
go
Mhm.
through.
autism. Yep.
There's
Mhm.
a huge umbrella. It's all under this umbrella, and it's broken down to different categories, and it's it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
But I
lot.
yeah.
was also thinking, like how Cass, you said earlier when you were having this conversation with your wife, like imagine what kind of degree you would go for if
Chico
you did
son,
have
yeah.
your parent to co-sign with you on certain things. Like imagine, like I kind of feel like imagine where we all would be like if our parents really did put in that extra 110% into us.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like maybe it stems from fear, or maybe it just stems from ignorance, because ignorance can be bliss at times.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I just kind of feel like, if they don't know, it's like, I don't know about that, baby. Like,
Yeah.
hey, they ain't gonna
Mhm.
Yeah.
explore the unknown.
Yeah.
Like, they don't,
Yeah.
but I will give my parents some grace when it comes to that. But
Mhm.
also when it comes to certain things I need them to take accountability for, it's like, hey, I guess you're not ready to take that accountability. We're
Yeah,
not
you know,
ready to
right?
have this conversation.
Uh-huh.
So we just gonna save that for another day, and we just gonna move forward. But
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of want to see, like, Cass, were you ever in that position where you wanted to talk to your mom or dad about something? Like, for example, that Good Times episode?
Yeah, that
And it's like, when you try to talk to them, did you get the conversation that you wanted, or was it more like dismissed, or was it like, okay, we're not ready at this point. Let's just calm down and we'll get there when we get there, you know?
that whole
Did that
conversation
ever
was
happen to you?
definitely that whole conversation was definitely deflected. Definitely when we watched it, I
Oh,
said, "Oh wow." L- And when I was just watching the both, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is the episode. Yeah, she did. Yeah." And I'm sitting here like, so we don't remember, the type of be no, because I'm sarcastic and funny at the
so
same time.
we forgot.
Yeah, and literally that's how I said, I'm
We
like,
forget.
yeah. And I'm like, so we don't remember, the type of beatings, because I always say, forget about the belt. Forget about the belt. That's
Mhm.
just common growing up. We don't remember the
Yeah.
beatings like we're in a boxing match here, or me yelling.
Yeah.
We don't remember any of that. No, please.
You're giving
The
them the
beatings that,
biggest side eye, and
yeah, and
It's like,
yeah. Oh, it's like, oh
like,
no, the beatings you got. No, that was this is she's hurt. So I said, you know what? I don't even.
they
We're
were
on
like,
vacation. Yeah,
you was
mm,
probably like, it's the audacity for me.
yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, sometimes with me, like, I don't like to unhatch things that need to be unhatched because I already know that I already know the outcomes, and I know some
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, it's better if you
Mhm.
talk about it." Okay, I got the podcast, I can talk about it, or I can go talk to my wife about it. She know how I feel about it, but I already
Yeah.
know where I'm gonna bump heads at. I don't even need to do it again. Just know my kids, my god kids, will not be disciplined in that way. And I appreciate, honestly, besides the beatings, I appreciate all the discipline that my parents have have taken into effect when it comes to me. The punishments, the grounding, take away this. I've had Christmas taken away from me 3 times, and I was still in high spirits because everybody was still coming over to have a great time. That's all I cared about. It was like any type of discipline that was given to me, I always wanted to be one up ahead of that discipline, where it wouldn't show me that, I was knocked down by it. Even my parents paying for Sylvan, that was high amount of dollars for that, and it was just how it was back then, how it is now. And I feel for the parents that have to go through it with the kids that are
Yeah.
now going through anxiety and depression. What does support
Mhm.
in the Black household look for us now? For me,
Mhm.
they're very supportive of whatever I want to do. Even quitting my job, the government job that I had, to be full-time in this, is like, well, if they weren't making you happy, then you just had to do what you had to do. But back in my day, we
Mhm.
don't quit jobs. But I want to make sure that you're happy. That's all the support that I need from the
Oh my
both of
gosh, I
them.
would have loved that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
that's all.
I would have
Yeah,
loved that.
yeah, like that's it right there. And then when they say, "Oh, anybody else?" No, we tell them the same thing. That's right, you tell them the same thing. So I
Mhm.
take it beautifully. Like, I really have great, amazing parents. When it comes to certain things, like we all said, give them grace, and
Mhm.
other things, it's like you will never understand unless it's displayed for you on picture, or unless you hear this episode, or unless we actually have a conversation, or actually gets to a point of, not too long ago when I hit 21, my dad and I on the phone, we just started saying, "All right, I'll talk to you later. I love you." I love my dad. He loves
Oh,
me. But we actually
Mhm.
said it on the phone. I said, and then we laughed because we knew what the heck was going on here. And I said, "Yeah, I love
Yeah.
you too." So it just,
Mhm.
we have a
Aw.
better relationship now, instead of just looking at you like, "What you did? Boom, these pills ain't working." Like,
yeah.
stuff
Mhm.
like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, so how is the support looking for you guys now?
For me, so I
Candy
will
said we'll
say
be here for
this.
another hour. No, yeah, we ain't.
I'm
I will
laughing
say
at
this.
myself. I ain't laughing at you, Jatiya.
Oh, I didn't think you were. So I will say this. My parents divorced when I was 2, so I was technically raised by a single mother.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I think that also plays a lot in her
Yeah.
being a helicopter parent,
Mm-hmm.
and just from her past experiences. So like you said, we give our parents grace on certain things.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad, the y anybody who has divorced parents already knows, like, and you have a father who is active in your life, he's he's active, but not in the way of
Yeah.
a two-parent household.
You don't even
Right.
have to
Um
finish that statement for me to understand. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I feel you.
Mhm, yeah. I was more so explaining for the people who grew up in a two-parent household because it's a very different feeling.
Yeah.
Um So my dad did miss out on a lot of things, and he even jokes to this day, I got to put on my striped shirt. I'm a referee between you and your mom. I'm the referee. Um, so my dad's supportive in certain things, but other things, his biggest thing is education, education, education.
Yeah.
Um, and it's he's supportive in as long as I'm putting my education first. The rest can come after. But at this point in my life, I can't put my education first right now
Mhm.
because of my obligations to my child. Um,
Right.
so and I'm a very artistic person. So it's just like he understands, but he doesn't understand. My dad's very like traditional.
Mhm.
Um, because he's like 10 years older than my mom. Like my parents are old school. And him being 10 years older than her, he's very traditional in the sense of, you know, black people, if you don't do anything else for yourself, make sure you get education. And to a point, I do agree, but let's be honest.
A lot of them
The
don't even
student
understand.
loans,
Yeah, they don't understand.
some
Even that
people,
degree
some
doesn't
They
get you
don't
where
people
you want.
understand.
they yeah,
Their student loans was average about 10,000. Our
Yeah.
yeah,
student loans is 38 plus.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's
the
be a
student
being. I
loans, some people don't even want to go to college. And then like in this time period, what you're really looking for, you should really be trying to go to trade schools because aside from us moving forward in
Mhm.
technology, we're we definitely need people with trades out here. Like it
Yeah.
like
yeah.
the agriculture right now is like because y'all going in the grocery store and looking at these prices for the vegetables and the way they be pumping steroids in them and stuff like that, like I don't either. I if I really could, I would really go get a degree in agriculture just so I could fully know how to grow my own vegetables and shit like that
Yeah, yeah.
because
Mhm.
it's it's kind of ridiculous.
And that's
But
okay. That's okay. He's about education because that's how he grew up. However,
yeah,
now over 18, you have your own life, you have your
hmm
own child. Well, this is how we're doing things.
yeah,
Education is great. Education possibly was cheaper. It was cheaper for them. A lot of people go get a degree and
hmm
they're not even in the field that they want. I went to LaGuardia
that's
College.
another
The
thing.
degree was going to be for music producing, or I'm not rapping besides that rice and chicken that y'all know about. And that's about it. Imagine how far that went. I took that whole year as a joke. And it's sad because that whole year as a joke still needs to be paid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I
Mhm.
wish I would on my terms, you know, instead of, you do this is the pattern, you come out of high school, you go here. Well, things is
Yeah.
different, like, but
Mhm.
this is just, I would appreciate it, a little bit of a cosign. However, it's okay. Whatever choices they want to make and choices I want to make is totally different. But I see it as giving them, like you said, Candy, the grace that they
Like turning the other cheek.
yeah, yeah,
Even though
yeah,
it's hard,
yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to because it's like, "Ooh, baby."
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, I didn't have a two-parent household. If I, like saying earlier, when my mom and dad were on and off, on the times where they were on and it felt like a two-parent household, man, that was great. But I think for both my parents, they come from different families and they have different outlooks. So for
Right.
my dad, he was Army Sergeant. Well, he wasn't sergeant. He was a lieutenant, and he basically his thing was respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom
Mhm.
thing was money, finances. You have to have money. So very early when I got my first job, her thing was wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna have to pay rent, bills, you're gonna have to pay something. Nothing is free.
Same.
And as I do appreciate that lesson. I really do. I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of wish she was a little bit softer with it because growing up, and I remember the first time I almost got fired from my job, right? My sister actually got fired from hers. Working, was able to get my job working and trying to graduate high school. It was like, my mom's like, okay, I need this much from your check. I need this, that, third. And me, not knowing anything, I'm over here thinking it's normal. because like I was raised wherever you go, you got to pay bills, you got to pay rent, got to pay gas, taxis, whatever. This was a little bit before the Uber. I kind of wish I had a little bit more grace from my mom when it came to her being more encouraging with saving my money so I could have the resources I need so I can leave the nest. But it was almost like, I'm gonna prep you, but you're not leaving the nest yet. That's when my mom's control kind of started to grab at me. And I remember when the manager had us in a meeting, one of the guys was basically like, well, I didn't steal, whatever, but it was him that stole. And it was another girl. She did, I don't know what caught their attention to make them investigate me. And also that following week, I wasn't on the schedule, was because one of them said, oh, well, Candy helps out her family. They're struggling on money. She gives her family her whole check. So she needs the money. So she's the thief. And then they were like, well, is this true? I was like, I mean, yeah, it's my family. Like, cause I'm over here thinking that's normal. Like as a child to give my whole check to my mom. I'm over here
Yeah.
thinking that's normal. But later on, I found out that's not normal.
It was the whole
That's
check. I
not
missed that part.
my
No,
whole
it's the
like
whole
some,
check.
like
She
if I
said
had
here and there,
like
so I'm thinking, oh,
if I had $100, I probably would have $30 or $40 until next week when I got paid again.
for
That
someone who
that's
didn't ask to
that
be
was
here.
normal to me. Now is
Yeah.
that's not normal at all. Like, now it's like what the fuck. But as a 17-year-old girl, living with her mom and stuff and going to school, I thought that was normal because I grew up, I didn't really need a lot because since I'm the youngest, I had a lot of clothes because of hand-me-downs. If I
Mm-hmm.
needed some shoes, I could easily go and buy sandals and shoes. But to me, that was just it. I didn't even have my own
Mhm.
bank account until me and my mom had a falling out and I went to go and live with my dad in Indiana. That's when I really had my own bank account. But I didn't even have my own bank account then. So it was like different things was taught. But then like when we try to have that conversation with our mom, it's like, but do you see how that doesn't look normal? How that's not it? It's kind of like a deflection, like
Yeah.
definitely deflecting
Mhm.
because she's not ready to take accountability. Instead, she's like, well, I did the best that I could. I get it, you were 15, you had your first child, and you've been on your own since. You do have to take accountability for your actions. And I'm not even talking about just my mom, I'm talking about any other mothers, parents, this generation, last generation, whichever generation. At some point, there will be a conversation you will have with your child,
Mm-hmm.
and your child is going to be like, well, why did you do that? Don't you think that's kind of
Yeah.
weird? You could have taken route B, which is better than route A. Me and my dad had a conversation. He was not ready to take any type of accountability. And he
Mhm.
started cursing me out, yelling at me, trying to silence me. I'm like, I'm not a little girl. I'm 31. I would hate for this to be our last conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, you do what you got to do. I'm like, I will, just to protect my peace. Now there's so many people who just stop talking to their parents, stop talking
Mhm.
to grandparents, cut off family just because of that reason, because they're not ready to take accountability. Parents, they're afraid to take accountability and they're afraid to touch bases on that. Maybe it's a personal trauma for them. I don't know.
You hear that, parents?
Mhm.
Listen to your kids.
Sorry,
And kids, talk to your parents for sure. For sure. For
I
sure.
went a little deep there.
Because everybody always likes to talk about the village. Where's the village at? I don't see the village. Well, you don't see the village because you're ignoring the problem in the village.
Mm-hmm.
You're not there's not going to be a village around you, or you're not going to have the support of you don't want the support of the village because there's a lot of conflict underneath that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a lot, and I hope that whatever parent or kids, or if your family members or my family members, any one of our family members or families that are listening to this, they just intake that we can discipline, we can listen, we can go ahead and understand, but we also should just have more of an understanding and talks with our families so that we can come together and understand well, why are they failing? Why do I feel like they're lazy? Do they understand why I'm possibly calling them that? Or what is really going on? Or it's okay to go and get my child tested, because a lot of Black family members don't want to
Yeah.
do that. It's okay to get my child tested. It is also okay for certain medications as well, because there are a lot of enhancement on these medications. Or maybe now we have so many resources. Look up books, look up audiobooks, look up TikTok, look up wherever that media is that's going to give you that information on whatever. This is like, I'm not going to give you a phone number to call as an awareness, but find out what it is, what's your kid's outlet, get in tune with your child. And ladies, I definitely appreciate both of your perspectives on this, because this was really great. We all got on our feelings. Jatiya, we almost had to bring out the tissues with your pauses, because I didn't know where we was going with it, because we was getting in the feelings here. But this was really great, guys. And anybody that's listening, stay in tune with who you bring into this world, and with your families, because that's what it's all about. I thank you, ladies, for being a part of the podcast episode today.
Well, I appreciate you for
Thank you
having
so
me. Thank you.
much.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Wingers,
you.
wingettes, you'll be able to hear and listen to this on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I appreciate y'all. Later.
Bye.
Bye.